We'll get started today on our backs. So make your way there now. And slowly finding a reclined position. And bring your feet a bit wider than the hips. And knock your knees inward towards one another. Arms can be in any position that you'd like. You can place them on your body, maybe one hand over your heart and the other on your belly. Or you can bring the hands out by your sides, palms face up, or even overhead for more of a chest opening type of position. And take these few moments to come into the space. Draw more focus to your breath. Really relax through the hips, releasing any tension in the backs of the legs or the front of your hips. Maybe you can slow the breath a bit more elongated with each and every inhale and exhale. And it's really these first moments of class that guide your practice. Know that whatever type of effort you put forth today is enough. Work hard when you can, and take a step back when you need to. Take a deep breath in through the nose, fill up the belly, the ribs, the lungs, the heart. And open the mouth, soft exhale. Pressing out any stale air in the body. Inhale through the nose. Fill up the sides of your body. Open up through the collarbones. Open the mouth, audible sigh. Inhale. Feel the belly rise. The chest lift, opening through the heart. And exhale out of the mouth. Just softly letting go. Seal the lips and continue to breathe in and out of the back of your nose and throat. Cultivating Ujjayi breath. You can practice Ujjayi by opening the mouth and acting as though you're fogging up a mirror, like, and the same thing inward, except with your mouth closed. So you can practice this breath in and out of the nose, sounding like the ocean waves. And as you deepen the practice and practice this type of breath control, maybe the sound gets a bit quieter so that if somebody else was next to you practicing, they wouldn't be able to hear you so much. You would be able to keep the cadence of your breath, keeping the rhythm and connecting the rhythm with the movement of the class to come. Start to move the knees over towards the right, keeping the feet where they are. And then bring the knees back up, bringing them over to the other side. And so opening up through the hips a little bit, bring the knees back up, over towards the right. Internal rotation to the right, or to the left leg, external rotation to the right, and then switch. And switch. And one last time, over towards the left. And then bring the knees back to center. Bring the heels so that they're underneath the knees. And bring the arms long by your hips, palms face down. And then start to lift the hips up, pressing deeper into the soles of the feet. And then just lift up the heels and set them back down. Lift up the heels and set them back down. And continue to do this, lifting up the heels, keeping low in the hips, but the hips elevated, hovering over the ground. Feel the calves engage as you lift up, and a slight engagement to the hamstrings, and then set them back down. Inhale, lift, and exhale, set them back down. Maybe you lift a little bit higher into the toes, and then set them back down. About 3 more. Really think about engaging the back sides of the legs. Not so much glute activation, but hamstring activation. Sending the knees forward a little bit more. And once more. Set the hips back down. Take an inhale and exhale. We're going to start moving through a dynamic bridge or a rolling bridge. So that's when we connect the lift of the hips with the arms. So as you lift the hips up, pressing into the feet, the arms reach up overhead, creating an arc with the fingers, and then on your exhale, sending the hips down, moving the arms down. Inhale, lift the hips to your highest point slowly, connecting the movement with the arms. And then exhale, send the hips down, arms move down. So the arms will have to move a bit faster to match the movement of the hips. We'll keep working at connecting the breath with the movement of the hips and the arms. About 3 more. When you're at the very top of the hips being lifted, squeeze the glutes. And then come back to center, bring the knees in towards the chest. Rock the knees side to side or roll them around in circles. And then press the hands into the shins and start to create gentle rocks along the length of the spine. From the sits bones all the way up into the shoulder blades, really rounding through the spine until you come up into your seated position. Rock over shins and come back into a hero's pose. Bringing the inner ankles as close to one another as possible and just placing the hips onto the heels, creating a nice stretch along the tops of the feet pressing into the mat. And then just start to rub the tops of the thighs with the palms, creating a bit of friction and heat beneath the hands. And then send the hands down by the knees, hinging forward just slightly. Tuck the chin to elongate the back of the neck. And then inhale, lift the gaze, tug the knees so that you can send the chest through, opening up along the collarbones. And then on your exhale, keep the hands there around the spine, tuck the chin. Taking these baby cat-cows, inhaling to lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale to round the spine. Pull the navel in towards the spine, inhale, lift. And just move through these cat-cows, the rhythm of your own breath. Eyes can be closed, there's not a ton to see here. Maybe this movement, a rounding or an arching of the spine, can move into the low and mid back as well. Undulating the spine. Movements can be as small or as large as you'd like. About 3 more rounds. Before coming into your rounded position. And once your breath is empty here, start to inhale, keep the spine rounded, and then exhale, pull the chest through, creating an opposite breath movement. Inhaling to round the spine and exhaling to broaden the collarbones. Now it might feel a bit unnatural because we're so used to exhaling to squeeze and the inhaling to open. Try and find a different type of sensation. Maybe when you're in this open position, you tuck the floating ribs in a bit more. And when you're in the rounded pose, try and inflate the backs of the lungs. About 1 more round. Before coming onto the hands and onto the knees. Tuck the toes under and come into downward facing dog. Here in down dog, pedal out the legs, moving in any way that you'd like. Exploring through the ribs and side bodies, into the backs of the legs and calves. Feel a wrapping into the entirety of the backside body. wrapping all the way into the backs of the heels and bottoms of the feet. And feel for that opening sensation along the back of the neck, the spine, and along the top of the head and the forehead. Come back to stillness. Deep breaths into the lungs and belly. Keep the sits bones pointing up high. Wrap the outer arms inward towards one another so that the inner elbows can spin a bit forward. Inhale to lift the right leg up and back. And then exhale, bring the right foot in between the hands. Drop the left knee down. Inhale the arms up overhead, low lunge. Exhale, bring the hands down towards the floor, just onto the fingertips. Straighten through that back leg, and then straighten through the front leg. Wide-legged pyramid pose. We'll take a full inhale and exhale here. Really try and dig that right heel in towards the ground and energetically pull it back in space so that you can pull the left hip forward. And then start to bend into the right knee, planting the right sole of the foot if it isn't already. And then sweep the arms up overhead, high crescent warrior. Melt the shoulders away from the ears, stacking the ribs and shoulders over the hips. Try and straighten through the left leg, anchoring the left heel back towards the back of your space. One more inhale here. And then exhale, plant the hands down. Step that right foot back into a high plank pose. And exhale, slowly lower down onto your belly. Untuck the toes so that the tops of the feet press in towards your mat. And bring the hands to the sides of your ribs, or in between the shoulders and your ribs, somewhere around there. Inhale to lift, low cobra. And exhale, come all the way down. Inhale, lift into low cobra. Keeping the hands beneath you to support you, but using your back muscles. We're going to hold here for a couple of breaths. So really feel for an engagement in your backside body and the mid back. Keep the legs engaged, and then start to lift the feet. Point the feet back and spread the toes. Keep the gaze forward. Take more weight out of your hands and maybe lift the hands up, just hovering them off of the mat. And then exhale, plant the hands down, plant the feet down. Come into your tabletop, and then tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale to lift the left leg up and back. Exhale, bring the foot in between the hands. Come into your low lunge. Right knee plants. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. And then exhale, fingertips down towards the mat, straighten through both legs, wide-legged pyramid pose. You can keep that left foot flexed, toes spread if you like more of a pulling on the back side of the left leg. Keep pulling forward through the crown of the head. One more full inhale here. And then on your exhale, bend into the left knee. Straight back leg. Sweep the arms up. Finding your high crescent warrior. High lunge. Pull the right hip forward, left hip back. It's a little bit easier here than, say, a warrior one to square off through the hips. Keep the pinkies pulling in towards one another, palms face towards one another. Keep an engagement through your arms, but soften the shoulders, soften your gaze, soften your face. One more inhale. And then exhale, plant the hands down. Pick up the left foot and then shoot it back into your high plank. And then lower down, keeping the elbows in towards the body. And then untuck the toes, coming into that low cobra. One more inhale. And exhale, come down. Inhale, lift up. And hold it here for a moment, or a few moments rather. Trying to spin the pinkies in towards the mat. Pressing those pinky toes in towards the mat, taking a more internal rotation to both hips. And when you do this, you might not get as much lift in your spine, and that's okay. Keep engaging through backside body and keep lifted through the chest and open. Maybe hover the feet, hover the hands. This time send the hands back by your hips, palms face down. Imagine that you have some rope tied around your ankles, pulling back, a string coming out of the top of your head, pulling forward. Feel that elongated spine and body, and then go for the lift. Maybe hover up your chest an inch higher. Try not to hold your breath, and then exhale, bring the hands back down underneath the shoulders, drop the toes or the feet, come into your tabletop, and then tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale here, and exhale out of the mouth, dropping the head, looking back beneath the feet. Allow your head to just relax. Take a deep inhale, breathe into the low back, breathe into the mid back and the upper back. Feel the ribs expand outward. Open the mouth, exhale. Turn your gaze forward. Lift the heels. Either step or hop towards the front of your mat. You can take as many steps as you want. Just walking your feet in between the hands. Or maybe you take a few mini hops to get there. Measure your feet about hips width distance apart. Just rock your body from side to side, swaying the hips back and forth. Nod your head up, yes and no, and shake your head from side to side. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Really shift weight into your toes. Squeeze the shoulder blades onto backside body. And exhale, fold forward. Create that connection of ribs to thighs, bending into your knees so that you can get that connection. So your hips might be really back in space, your knees can be really bent. Just depending on your flexibility. Wherever you are, start to roll up one vertebrae at a time, stacking one on top of the other. And still having that bend into the knees, try and move slowly. Keep the chin tucked towards the chest until the very last moment. When you get about 3/4 of the way to standing, start to straighten through the legs. And then roll the shoulders down your back, lift the gaze. Turn the palms face forward towards the front of the room. Deep inhale and soft exhale. Reach the arms up overhead. Grab the left wrist with the right hand and start to send the hips over towards the left, bringing both hands over towards the right. Gaze can come over towards the left side of the room, maybe even towards the ceiling, but keep the core engaged and legs strong beneath you. Open up along the left side body, contracting the right obliques. Draw the left shoulder away from the ear. And then on your inhale, come back to center. Flip the grip, grabbing for the right wrist. Inhale to grow long first, and then exhale, send the hips over to the right, hands to the left. Body in one plane, not pushing forward or back, keeping everything in line. The hips over the heels, the shoulders over the hips. Try and smooth out your breath here. Keep breathing into the right side body. Exhale to your depth, and then inhale, come all the way back up. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Step the left foot back. Drop the left knee down into the mat. Bring your right hand to the top of the right thigh. Reach your left arm up overhead. And send that right knee forward. Send the right knee so far forward that you really feel an opening up along the front of the left hip. And since your right hand is supporting you on top of the right thigh, push the hips over towards the left and bring the left fingertips over towards the right. This is also helpful if you don't feel like you have enough support of your right hand on top of the right thigh. You can place your right hand on the floor beside you or on a block, something to elevate you so that you can open up along the left side body a bit more. One more deep inhale here. And then exhale, come back to center. Both arms reach up overhead. Cactus through the elbows, spinning the backs of the hands down, inner elbows up. Reach open through the chest and tuck the floating ribs in. Gaze comes up. And then bring the hands down to the mat. Straighten through that back leg. And turn the toes towards the left side of your space. So both toes come towards the left, and bring your hands to help you towards the left. Coming into a wide-legged forward fold, toes in, heels out. Hands can come down onto this floor to support you, but try and shift weight more forward into the toes so that the hips can be in the same line with your heels, not back, not sticking your butt out back, or forward. Keep them nice and in line. Inhale, bring the fingertips out forward, more in front of you, directly underneath the shoulders, halfway lift. Exhale, fold once more. We're going to be here for a couple of breaths. So if you feel like you can move the hands more underneath the hips, bringing the fingertips in line with the toe tips. And go ahead and do so, and use the leverage underneath the hands and the bend in the elbows to send your chest further between your forearms and your legs. And then on your inhale, start to turn the toes back towards the front of your space, so over towards the right. Frame the right foot with your hands. And then sweep the arms up overhead, high lunge. The right foot can move over towards the right, heel toe over towards the right, so that you're in more of a wide stance, a wider base for balance and stability. Send the hips low. Imagine like I gave you a sack of sand in your hands and you sink lower because it's heavy. On your next inhale, straighten through the front leg. Exhale, bend into the front knee. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. Try and move slow with your breath. Bend into the knee. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Stick with it. Inhale. And exhale, bend. Now keep that right knee over the right heel and start to bend into the left knee, tapping the left knee towards the ground. And then exhale, come back up. Inhale, tap the left knee towards the ground. And then come back up. We're going to move through 3 more of these. Try and move slowly. Embrace the shakes. And 1 more. Start to hinge your way forward. Find extension. And then drop the hands towards the ground, coming up onto the fingertips. And then step that left foot forward, coming into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. And then step that right foot back, finding your low lunge on this side, dropping through the right heel. And then come up into that low lunge with the left hand on top of the left thigh, or maybe left forearm on top of the left thigh, anything that might feel best for you today. Bring the right arm up overhead. And then start to press the hips over towards the right. Feeling for that opening up along the right side rib cage. Keep sending your hips forward and left knee forward. Gaze can come up if the neck allows. And both hands come up overhead. Deep inhale here. Cactus through the elbows. And then bring the hands down towards the mat. Untuck the toes. And then start to make your way into that wide-legged forward fold in the other direction. So bring the toes in, heels out. And maybe this time you interlace your fingers behind the base of your spine. and find more of a shoulder opening here. Really press into the outer sides of your feet so that you can lift up on the arches of your feet. Feel for how that changes and creates more of a tugging sensation on the outer sides of your ankles. And that sensation, if you keep rocking your weight forward into the toes, stacking hips over the line of your heels, you might feel for that tugging traveling up the outer sides of your calves. And then finally, keep spreading the sits bones away from one another and feel for how that engages the backs of the hamstrings. Bring the hands down towards your mat. Take your time. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Find length. Press the crown of the head forward. And then exhale, fold. Start to turn the toes towards the front of your space. Here with the support of your hands beneath your shoulders. Maybe set up if you need more of a wide stance so that your feet are, instead of in line with one another like a tightrope, they're more on railroad tracks. Reach your arms up overhead. Find your high lunge. Sink low in the hips, lower than you think that you can go. Find your edge. Keep pulling the right hip forward, left hip back. Bend into that left knee. And then exhale, straighten through the front leg. Inhale to bend. Exhale, straighten. Let's go a little bit slower. Inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten. Keep stability in the hips and into the core. Let's do 2 more. And feel for that core engagement traveling up the lower belly, along the length of your abdomen, and up into the chest. Stability through the shoulders. And once your front knee is bent, start to tap the right knee down into the mat, and then straighten through the leg. Feel the fire. About 2 more. Now hinge forward from the hips, bringing the fingertips at an angle for an extension, and then bring the hands down towards the mat. And step the right foot in to meet the left, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Find that long line of energy from heels all the way through the fingertips. And then exhale, bring the hands down to heart center, palms pressing inward towards one another. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Open the mouth, exhale. Once more, inhale through the nose. Open the mouth inside out. Good. Now bring the arms by your sides and press the palms of your hands into the low back. Fingers can either point up if you like that, or point down. Take a soft bend into the knees and press the hips forward. Maybe gaze shifts up. Feel for an opening along the front side of your body. Tuck the elbows in towards one another. One more deep inhale. And then on your exhale, start to fold forward, bringing the hands towards the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, finding length in the sides of your body and the back of the neck. Exhale, plant the hands down, step the feet back. And then drop the knees towards the ground. Keep the toes tucked, coming into fire toes. So here we've done this a couple of times before. Try and hug the inner ankles in and heels towards one another. And then spread the pinky toes away from the rest of your foot. Really feel for an opening along the back side or the underneath the arch. And an opening up along the backs of the calves. If you need more of a tugging sensation, you can move the knees in towards the hips. And if it's ever too much, then you can move the knees out for a little bit of a release. Keep the gaze forward and breathe into the belly, the ribs, and chest. And then reach the arms up overhead. Palms face towards one another. And then bend into the elbows, cactusing through the arms. And then on your exhale, bring the forearms together. Keep the spine as elongated as possible. And we're not trying to round through the upper back like this. We're trying to keep the spine as straight as possible, but just squeeze the forearms in towards one another, protracting the shoulder blades and bringing them away, spreading them away from one another. Inhale, come into that cactus, opening up through the chest. And exhale, bringing the arms in towards one another. Inhale, open up. Exhale, squeeze it in. Feel for more space underneath the shoulder blades. Inhale. And exhale, squeeze it in. Once more. Inhale. And exhale, squeeze it in. Bring the palms down to the mat or just fingertips onto the mat and tap out the tops of your feet. Tap, 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 tap. That feels really good. Release in the toes. You can spread and crunch the toes. Roll out the ankles. And then come down onto the forearms, creating forearms parallel with one another, palms face down, and then extend the legs back. And create hips width distance with the feet. So we're in this forearm plank. And then actually come down onto the knees for now. And then actually, let's come into Sphinx pose. So drop through the hips. Let's drop through the hips. And pull the chest through the shoulders. Keep pressing the thighs onto the ground. And here, inhale, and then on your exhale, tuck the chin, round the spine, and then lift the hips, finding a cat pose in the Sphinx. double cat, as you will. Inhale, pull the chest forward. Exhale, round the spine, lift the hips. So you still have that support underneath the knees. Inhale, drop the hips down. Inhaling, chest through. Exhale, lift the hips, round the spine, really upper spine, but maybe even some rounding in the low spine. Engage through front side body. Inhale. Send it through. Exhale, round. And then inhale. Come up. Now tuck through the toes and come up into your forearm plank. Leveling out the hips with the shoulders. Roll onto the outer side of the right foot so that the right forearm is supporting you underneath. You can always come down onto the right knee for added support here. Extend the left arm overhead. Breathe into the sides of your body. Lift the hips up and a bit forward. Take one more deep inhale, and then exhale. Drop the left forearm down onto the ground and set up to move on to the left side. So you can try out a variation with both legs lifted, and if it's too much, come back down onto that left shin. Extend the right fingertips up and forward. And then exhale, come down into your forearm plank. And then this time, we're gonna make it a little bit more dynamic. So roll onto the outer side of the right foot. Reach the left arm up overhead. Bend into the left elbow, grabbing for your skull. Find that space behind the right ear. There's a bit of a notch on the back of your head that you can pull or hold on to and pull away from. Inhale here, and then on your exhale, drop the left elbow towards the right elbow. So a little last bit of effort of class here. Inhale to come up. Exhale, tap the left elbow down towards the right. It doesn't have to touch the right, but just down into the mat. Go as slowly or as quickly as you would like, but slow, I would say in this case, is better for more control. Once more, inhale, exhale, tap down, and then drop the left forearm down, come back up onto the toes, and we're gonna do the other side. Right arm reaches up, overhead, bend into the right elbow. Feel for that length along the sides of your body. Engage the glutes. Deep inhale to start. Exhale, tap it down. Inhale to lift. Exhale, crunch it in. Tapping the elbow down. Inhale, lift. 3 more, exhale, bring it down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Once more, inhale. Really find that length. Exhale, squeeze it in. And then drop the forearm down, come up onto the toes, drop the knees, come into child's pose. Drop the forehead down onto the mat. Send the hips back in space. And let that little exercise go. Try and smooth down the breath. If you're ever breathing through your mouth during your practice, it's an indication that you might have to take a step back or modify, because you might be working a bit too hard. Good, now start to lift the hips slightly. Maybe the forehead lifts off of the mat to start. And thread the right arm underneath the left. Coming into thread the needle, except more of a child's pose version. So drop the right ear towards the mat. And then send the hips further back in space so we can open up the outer side of the right upper arm. And left hand can stay where it is, or you can wrap the left arm around your back, or just press the top of the left hand into the low back. And wherever your left hand is, place it underneath the shoulder. Press into the hand so that the hips lift up. Sweep the right arm overhead, opening up through the chest towards the right. And then exhale, come back down into your child's-like pose, and bring and thread the left hand underneath the right arm. And come onto the side, the left side of the head. And whatever variation that you did on the other side, go there now, whether it's keeping the right arm extended forward or wrapping the right arm behind you. Start to press the right hand underneath the right shoulder, allowing the hips to lift, open up towards the left. And then exhale, bring both hands down into the mat. Sit back onto the heels and shift weight to one side. Coming into, we're gonna come into a wide-legged forward fold. So spread the ankles away from one another and shift your weight forward so that you can get the squishy parts of your seat away from your sits bones, and you can actually manually lift your butt muscles away. And here in this wide-legged forward fold, really externally rotate the hips by flexing the feet and spreading the toes away from one another. Keep the spine long. Just bring the palms down or the fingertips down into the mat and start to hinge your way forward, slowly walking the hands forward, just in a couple inches at a time. And if you are here and your spine starts to round, back out of it a little bit. Now, if you're down here and you feel like you can drop the elbows while keeping the length and integrity of a long spine, then go ahead and do that. Just find your edge today, and as you keep coming back to your mat and practicing these poses over and over again, space will start to open up in your body. Start to let go of expectations of how things should look and come more into how they feel for you. And as your body starts to open up, you can then go deeper. remember the breath comes first. If you find at all you're holding your breath, back out. We want to keep the breath on the forefront of our minds, or our focus on the breath. And then the form of our body, making sure that we're not hurting ourselves in any way. It's okay to be uncomfortable in our asana practice. And then once you have the breath and the form, then you can go for the depth. One more exhale here. And then start to press your way back up. Maybe help your legs to come inward towards one another, bending through the knees. And you can adjust your hips so that they're in the center of your mat lengthwise. And keep the feet planted into the ground. Reach the arms forward, palms face up. And slowly hinge your way back. Keeping the chest lifted, core engaged. Keep the feet pressed in towards the mat. I know they want to lift. Keep them pressed down until you simply cannot hold it any longer. Bring the knees in towards the chest. Wrap the forearms around your shins. Really squeeze tight into a big or a small ball rather. Squeezing the knees in towards the chest, giving yourself a big hug. And then find your way into Shavasana, or corpse pose, by extending the legs long. Bringing the arms wide, palms face up. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Close the eyes if they're not already. And then exhale through the mouth to release your breath control. Final Shavasana. Always end class with corpse pose. And it can sound morbid. The corpse pose really means death of the physical body. Now that we've shaken up our energy and engaged, flexed and contracted, twisted different parts of our body, we can now find rest in the body and stillness. We know that the body needs movement and the mind needs stillness. So often, to get to that point of ease in the mind, we need to move the body. Begin to move through the fingers. And place one hand over your belly. Feeling the breath flow freely in and out. Physically feeling the belly rise with each inhale and fall with each exhale. Start to spread and crunch the toes, creating movement into the ankles. And then eventually bringing the knees in towards the chest, grabbing for your shins, pulling the knees in towards the chest. And coming into a seated position is in any way that you'd like, whether that's bringing your weight to one side or rocking your weight up. And with a soft gaze or closed eyes, bring the hands to heart center. Take this moment and acknowledge the purpose and the effort that you put into your practice today. And remember that purpose each and every time you think of coming to your mat. Thank you so much for your hard work and effort. The light and teacher in me salutes the light and teacher in you. Namaste.